Hi, everyone. My name is Bel Schenk. I'm a poet from Melbourne. I'm originally from Adelaide. I've been working on the expedition poetry project with the City of Literature and the City of Heidelberg for the last almost a year, actually, which has been amazing. For the first half of the project, I was working with Miriam, and I'll get you to introduce yourself, Miriam, and then we're going to read each other's poems and talk a little bit about our process and about poetry in general.
Yeah. Hi. My name is Miriam Tag. I'm a poet from Heidelberg, and I was paired up with Bel for the expedition poetry project. And I just sent in my first manuscript for publishing, so that's really exciting. And there, the project also gave me some impetus to do that. Yeah, I am. We have written a poem or several poems as part of the exhibition poetry project. And Bel, I'm now going to read your poem aloud in the German translation. So the title is Northcott, früh im Herbst. Letzten Monat starb unsere Nachbarin. Ihr Sohn räumte ihr Haus. Auf dem Gehweg blieb, was Männer wirklich wollen. Der Karawong belagerte den Baum und pfiff vergnügt hinter uns her. Erwachsene Frauen, Hand in Hand. Wir gingen früh los, Brot für den Brunch besorgen, als der Regen begann. Wir wirbelten links, Unterschlupf, Glieder weich, kühler. Wie sagt man, lass mich nicht los.
Thank you, Miriam. I never get tired of hearing your voice and your language. Very interesting hearing my own words in German. But now I'm going to read the same poem in English. It's called Northcote, Early Autumn. A neighbour died last month. Her son cleaned out her house, left How to Please a Man on the footpath. The currawong seized the tree and whistled a cat call towards us, grown women holding hands. We were leaving early to buy a loaf to take to the brunch when the rain started. We twirled left, shelter, limbs soft, cooler. How to say, don't let me go. You go.
I just love this poem. And now when hearing it again in your voice, I've had it several times during our process because I wanted to hear how you read it and how the rhythm of each line unfolds. And still it unfolds its beauty for me. Yeah.
Oh, that's a lovely thing to say. I'm interested in your process of translating it and how you, I guess, came up with some of the words that you used, because I don't feel like it would have been a very simple word for word translation. Did you sort of really think about the setting and what would be a German equivalent of that? And can you talk about that a little bit?
Yeah. So we were all provided with interlinear translations in the beginning. So we had this word for word translation as a start to work with. But when reading it, I suddenly felt, it's not going to work like that. You can't take one word and replace it by the German word. And the poem didn't illuminate, it didn't shine in that way it does in the original. So I really tried to read it loud to myself often to get a feeling for the rhythm and the musicality, and then to find images which are very close to the original poem, but also kind of extended in some other directions. And I also chose at certain places to stick very close to the English original. For example, with the Karawong, we don't have that bird in German, but the way you described it to me made me feel it's so important that it's not just an Amsel, like a blackbird or something, some bird around living here. I could have done this kind of translation into the animal kingdom on our part of the world, but I felt it was necessary to keep with the bird that actually appeared in the poem with this very specific character. And I also just like the sound of the name of the bird very much.
Yeah, it was interesting because we probably spent a good half an hour talking about the Karawong
which bird is
and why I chose it. And it was, and it's very seasonal as well. Like they're not around all times, and well, if they are, I don't hear them all the time. So it was very specific about waking up and hearing that particular bird. So coming up with the equivalent was a challenge.
Yeah, and you also tried to make clear to me, how is it whistling or singing? So in the poem it says, and whistled like a cat call. So, I didn't have a feeling in the beginning what that, would it be like interrupting their walk? Would it be like sexual attracted? Would it be like just seeing and honoring the beauty of working together? So all these nuances, they had to be there in the German translation too.
Yeah. I remember you asking me whether it was kind of sinister, like the call was a bit sinister, which and it's not. So we got really talking about that. So how have you found the project as a whole, like working with the 4 other poets as well and translating their work?
Yeah, so inspiring, because these were my first poetry translations. So I've read English poems before, but it's very different on how close you get to the language if you really translate the poem. So it was beautiful to start in depth working with you. So I got a feeling of how I go about in translating, how much freedom I give myself, which aspects are important for me, for example, rhythm and musicality. But then also to go into other poems and see, what different voices need when they are translated. They need different things from the translator. So this was a beautiful experience to come so close to another language.
Yeah, I found so too. Like it was a different challenge and a different process, I think, for the Australian poets who, I guess I speak for myself, but my German is very, very basic. I could probably get some directions and buy a drink or something, but that's pretty much it from high school. So we were
translating, because you only had the interlinear translation with the German words.
Yeah, so we got the German words and the word for word translation, and sort of, I think the challenge for me was to kind of take the English version and go, well, that's what more can I do? I've got a translated poem here. How am I going to make this different? But by, I guess, spending a lot of time with you over Zoom and talking to you about what you're trying to say, what your intent was, that really gave me a chance to think properly about what you were trying to do, rather than just go, oh, well, these words fit here, or this works nicely. But after our Zoom calls, when I went back and thought about the rhythm and thought about different words and put some of the German words into like a translating software, on the internet, I could really think that, these words don't really fit together. Let's make it more rhythmical. And I almost sort of made it my own. Like it was still your poem, but it was somehow a lot mine as well. So it was really interesting. I had this thing about, I'm kind of stealing it and making it, just taking it in a different direction. And I never really knew how you felt about that. So it was really good to have the chance to talk to you about that afterwards. So we always kept those communications open.
Yeah, your translation had so much more shimmer than the interlinear translation. So in your translation, I then could feel, the intent and the musicality of the original poem.
Yeah. And because your poems are so creative in terms of the fact that you love to work with creatures and you love to, I guess, show yourself through creatures and talk about, fish and different types of insects and, beautiful things that I don't really write about. So it was a really interesting way to get myself into a different mindset with that. So,
and how was the overall project for you? How did you experience working together with so many different poets?
Yeah, it was really fun to get to know everyone. I like the connection part of it, really, especially during, a very long winter for us. And now that we were very used to Zoom and getting to know people on Zoom, I thought it was a really good way to connect with each other. Mainly you, but as time went on, the other 4 poets and also the Australian poets who we were lucky enough to meet in person, some of them. I found it really challenging. Like I always felt like I wasn't quite right for it. And I think that was because I don't speak German. So I was kind of like, especially at the beginning, all the Australian poets were like, oh, what are we doing? We can't do this. We are not German speakers. We're not translators. And it was very nice to be put at ease and made to feel that we could do it and we could make it our own, and we could really just play with form and play with different languages and get a different understanding through that. So yeah, I really loved it.
Mm.
And I'm now going to read your poem in English, and then you're going to read it in German.
Yes.
Iron Gecko. I want twilight. I wish for a night to slip into your room through a narrow crack. I dance my way up the narrow edge of your bed, lie gently next to you. In the muted light of sleep, your body breathes heavier. I want you earthy. I want you in all the sated warmth that rises up now from your pores. My wet lips tenderly touch your ear, just roughly enough for you to notice me. Half in sleep, you stretch your body towards me. I glide onto you, move lightly on you. Billions of finest hairs hold me while I swing across cliffs and canyons. This magnificent geography of your body, this cosmos of surface and depth. However much we turn with each other to stick on you the whole night, this is what I'm made for.
Thank you, Bel. I'm now going to read it in German. Iron Gecko. Ich wünsche mir die Dämmerung, ich wünsche mir eine Nacht, in der ich durch eine schmale Ritze in dein Zimmer schlüpfe. Weich tänzle ich die Kante deines Bettes empor, lege mich behutsam neben dich. Im gedämpften Licht des Schlafs atmet dein Körper schwerer. Ich will dich irdisch. Ich will dich in all der satten Wärme, die jetzt aus deinen Poren steigt. Meine feuchten Lippen berühren zart dein Ohr und gerade so rau, dass du mich bemerkst. Halb noch im Schlaf streckst du mir deinen Körper entgegen. Ich gleite auf dich, bewege mich leicht auf dir. Milliarden feinster Härchen halten mich in diesem Schwung über all die Klippen und Klüfte, die meine Finger nun tasten. Diese grandiose Geografie deines Körpers, dieser Kosmos aus Oberflächen und Abgründen. Wie sehr wir uns auch wenden miteinander, dass ich hafte auf dir die ganze Nacht. Dafür bin ich gemacht.
Lovely. Thank you.
Lovely to hear you reading the English translation. It feels like our poem together. So it's still mine, but it's also still yours, in the way you translated it. Yeah.
Yeah, that's a lovely thing to hear, a lovely thing to say. I feel the same way about mine and the other poems that you translated as well. Like, I guess I can't, because you speak English well and I don't speak German, as I said, I don't have the same understanding of what your German ones are like, but I can kind of hear them and I can, kind of understand what you've done with them and you really thought about it and it's been fantastic to work with you. So thank you. I look forward to reading more of your work in the future.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to reading more of your work. And thank you so much for working together. Thank you, Bel.
Bye-bye.
Bye.